This is an introduction to Mark and Lisa Manchester, part 3, because we actually part 1 and 2 were long enough, so we actually added a little part 3 to this. And the links for part 1 and part 2 are below in the description. And Scott, I want you to say hello first. Next.
Hello.
You muted, and Lisa and Mark. So Lisa and Mark say hello, and Scott say hello.
Hi there.
Hello.
Perfect. Thank you. So, so this is part 3, the first part, and then just quick review. Mark was diagnosed with ALS in 2011. For 3 years, he was on a respirator and a feeding tube, and he couldn't speak and he couldn't breathe on his own. And now he can speak, breathe on his own, eat on his own, and he can now walk in a walker. And he was down to 0 movement in his wheelchair. Okay, so let's do the follow-up questions. Mark and Lisa, these are the questions that we didn't quite get finished with on the last one, so let's do this one. So number 1, how did you know when your gut was healed?
How did I know when my gut was healed? Well, I mean, Lisa, before we started doing it, and we'll talk about this test that my doctor has done, which I suggest to every pal asking their doctor to do this Genova Nutra Eval, which will pretty much let you know where your deficiencies are and where things that you can work on, and to know if you have toxic chemicals in your body, because it does a toxicity test. But even before the test, Lisa knew, because I was taking the L-Serene and the Leap to be Fit, and began to see changes in my body. And years before that, I'd say 3 years before that, she had been giving me supplements that basically that was the whole point of it. Besides these cleansing effect that these supplements have, we even did a cleanse. What is it called? I don't remember what the supplement, but we've done this. Soul actually has a cleansing product that you use. I mean, it's not something you want to use every day, and you know, unless you want to stay home next to your bathroom all day long. But we did that several times, and then you know, keeping up with these supplements, and then building back the good bacteria in my body that I had taken so many antibiotics. She had to rebuild the flora in my gut. And we knew when I started, I started gaining weight. And my blood tests were coming back where I wasn't as deficient in vitamins. So at that point we knew, and we weren't adding, at that time, we weren't adding extra vitamins. We were just trying to eat proper. And when I was on the PEG tube, you know, we were using functional formulary and Kate Farm. But even during that time, she was cleansing my body, and there was a difference in blood work from the while I was taking the functional formularies. They noticed a difference in my blood work. So that was a key indicator that, okay, Mark, Lisa knew that, Mark, okay, you're absorbing nutrients better. So
bottom line is the plant-based supplements were putting his body into a balancing mode and getting those good nutrients. So once it gets into the balancing part and you get the good nutrients, then other things that you start implementing, like the amino acids, started to help him improve.
Right.
So the answer to all of this is that you knew that his gut was healing because of blood work improved, even though your ALS symptoms back then weren't improving.
No.
Your ALS symptoms actually got worse while you were healing, but you were feeling better in other ways, right?
You know, well, I mean, you know, there's a lot of things. I had mentally, I had to, you know, we have our little dog here, and he knew when I felt.
Yeah, show us the dog.
He was, so mentally felt better because he knew when I was feeling bad. He laid on me constantly.
He still does.
And he still does. You know, he knows when I'm having bad days. He's still on top of me. But I knew from a standpoint of that I was extremely tired before, and I could stay awake longer, even though I was not improving, but I could stay awake longer without just being awake for maybe a couple of hours and then just pass out and okay, it's 6 hours later. I could stay awake and watch TV or, you know, listen to Lisa talk and, you know, or do audible reading on a computer. And so, yeah, I noticed a big difference.
Perfect. And that answers another question that we had was, how do you keep your energy levels up? And basically it's doing this whole well-rounded program that's in healingals.org. It's in the blog, and your full protocol is in there. So people will be able to look at the link and find your full protocol there. So that's really important. I think it's everything together that healed your gut and increased your energy level. And you knew you were getting better because your lab tests were improving, your energy level was improving, even when your ALS symptoms weren't. And
right.
Then once you you added the LEAP and the L-serine, it got better. Can you talk about your labs? You mentioned your labs compared like to 2 years ago, what they are now.
Well, I have just two. I have more, but I have two that I was able to put my hands on. This is a January 2020, and it's pretty detailed, as you can see. It actually goes into your citric acid, or in this case, they call it the Krebs cycle. And every detail of your citric acid, if it's in a good range, your keto glutathione acid, you name it, it's on here, okay? And it was a dramatic change because I also have one over here from 2018 that really, it started improving, but I was still trying to get there. And Lisa made some changes in my diet and my supplements. She was constantly tweaking. And it was proven. The doctor's like, okay, we're going to do another one because I know there's got to be a lot of changes. And the thing that stuck out to me the most, and Lisa and I both, we have those physicians, and I would recommend this to every pal or any person actually that has any kind of illness. But it actually has oxidative stress markers that were dramatically different on this one from January of this year. From the October of 2018, I had way less oxidative, like my glutathione level, lipid peroxides and CoQ enzymes, and all these things were it was dramatically different. And then it even goes into elemental markers like copper, magnesium, manganese. All that had actually improved from the previous 2018. But the thing that stuck out to me was during this process with Lisa giving me all these supplements I'm not going to say chelate. I didn't go through the chelating process, but some of these supplements actually pull these toxins out of my body. And it was pretty dramatic. Like, for instance, in 2018, the lead in my body was 1.04 micrograms per deciliter, which that's a small number, but still. And then it dropped to 0.6 in 2 years. The mercury in my body was 5.54 micrograms per liter, which that's a lot of lead in your body. That's actually in here. That's actually in the red dangerous.
This is in mercury or lead?
Mercury.
Mercury. Okay.
No, we're moving on. The the lead was in the red range too, but it dropped. Now it's in the okay range as of January. But it dropped almost 4. It's now in the good range. In January, it's in the good range, the lead. So I've been detoxified of lead without doing anything major other than taking the supplements and things that, her and the naturopath have recommended that will reduce this in my body.
Try to balance.
I even had high amounts of arsenic in my body in 2018, 3.8 micrograms per liter. And now I have 0.2 arsenic. So cadmium, which is a toxic element, I had, wow, that's a big difference.
Anyway, it's part of the balancing that.
Right. So your mercury levels, your lead went down, your arsenic, your cadmium, all of these are bad metals, and they all went down. And then your magnesium, which is a good metal, went up. So that sounds.
It shows how the body was in the balancing mode, and before it wasn't.
It was out of balance. And even in 2018, I was improving, but I still had some abnormalities in my blood. And in 2018, I was improving, but I still had a ways to go. When they did this test in 2018, I still had a ways to go. And now in January 2020, I'm a lot better. And this whole blood work and they do it from the blood and urine actually proves that okay, Mark, you're a lot healthier than you were in 2018.
Yeah, and I think patience is really important because, look, you've been working on this for years. So in 18, you had been working on it for 3 or 4 years. And then the last 2 years, it's improved even more. So this is 6 years. You've noticed an improvement over 6 years. So I think let people be patient. Not everything works. You're experimenting, you're tweaking, Lisa, is that correct?
Yeah, and we get the question over and over, when will I know the difference? How long is it going to take me? And I understand that. That's very important. We really didn't go into this having those same questions. It was just day to day of, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to try this. And next thing you know, there's months that went by. And things were happening, and there's years that went by, and it was like, oh, okay, he's been on this product for 3 years. Oh, he's been on it for, and I understand the urgency because we're all in this ALS journey together, but it's just, it's just being patient and just taking it day by day and, just staying with it, just, saying, okay, or having that attitude or, never surrender or, are just looking forward to the next day of what things are going to come of, expectancy of things to happen. Not just say, okay, you're going to get it better in 3 months. And
Mark was getting worse before he got, you were doing all these things in 13 and 14, and he still needed the vent. He still needed the feeding tube. And so people got to realize, look, it takes time. You've got 20, in your case, you were you were in your 40s when you were diagnosed?
I was 50.
50. Okay, so at 50, you've had 50 years of toxins to build up.
Yeah.
Right.
At 50 years old, and now now it's taken you 6 years to detox, or 8 years to detox. So this is huge.
Actually, I'm 50. I'm 58. Yeah, you're right. 8 years to detox and to let all these amino acids. It's taken 3 years for this to get to the I guess genetic level, because there was abnormalities even down to the genome, inflammation or proteins, and I'll let the doctors explain that more. Dr. Bedlack and all them can explain about these proteins, but all that's better. And so, but that doesn't happen in 2 weeks.
No.
Right. And as I said, Mark still can't run yet. He's still using a walker. He's still working on his balance. But your goal, Mark, can you just share what your goal is?
Well, my goal, there's 2 goals. I have a lot of goals. One is I went skydiving before, skydive. I want to do that again, But this time I want to go solo, not with somebody hooked on my back and or tandem jumping and where they have to pull a ripcord. Because when I went before, I did it to raise money for ALS, and I couldn't move, so they pushed me out of the plane. And so this time I want to be able to do it on my own. The other goal is I want to be able to, because I was a avid snow skier, I want to be able to go, and hit the slopes again. I don't care that I'm 58 and might break a bone or whatever. I mean, things like that happen. But, it's just the thrill of going down a black slope and, traversing down the mountain is something I want to do again. I dream about it. Also, we live across the street from the beach, and 100 yards off our beach, there's a ship sunk years ago, and they have a huge coral reef. I want to go down and scuba dive, which doctors are not allowing me to do that yet. So that's not a thing that we're doing yet. So I asked.
Oh, and you said you wanted to run too.
I do want to run, and I've actually tried, but with my walker, but that just not gonna. No, that's not gonna happen yet.
It's all not yet.
It's okay.
It's not happening yet. Okay, I want to go on because I don't want to take too long. Eggs, you mentioned. I had mentioned eggs. You said you've cut down on your eggs recently. Can you explain what the results have been?
Oh, I have a lot less joint pain. I think eggs are. I mean, just my opinion. I'm not a doctor again. I'm not. But I have a lot less. I was having a lot of joint pain. And since I've taken eggs, it seems like the joint pain and inflammation has dramatically decreased. Yes, I probably needed the protein, but there's other ways you can get protein. And, I'm not saying eggs are a bad thing, but you got chickens that are raised in horrible conditions and fed hormones, and you're not sure what you're getting in an egg. So what I notice, and there's probably other things in my body that I don't notice. I mean, you do get to know your body with ALS. That's something you do really know. You get in tune with your body, everything. But what I definitely notice is all my joints are not as stiff, and I don't have the pain in my joints.
Yeah. So where we got the egg thing, it's actually from Anthony William, medical medium, and what he explained is that virtually everyone with ALS there's a viral component. There are a bunch of viruses that we're not able to suppress, and when ALS, all of a sudden the viruses take over, and most of us have all these viruses in our system, but they're under control. And what he explained, and that's in another blog, he explained that in his books that eggs actually feed the viruses more than they're feeding you. They're a great nutrient. The problem is the virus's favorite foods are eggs, wheat, dairy, and sugar. So whenever you eat those foods, you're actually improving the virus's environment more than you're improving your own healing. So that's why he suggests that you stay away from those subjects, and they cause inflammation, which is really interesting because so basically everyone has to make their own decisions, but we have read enough about eggs to know.
Good.
We get a lot of questions about eggs.
It is a big issue, and Dr. Terry Walls says the same thing in the Walls protocol. She says, eggs are generally, a lot of people can't handle them, and even if you can handle them, they're not really that good for you.
Right.
Even if they're antibiotic free and everything. Right. So, okay, the next question I had is, just a second, finish that one. Okay, how long, these supplements are very expensive. Are there alternatives? And how long do you have to take these? Are you going to just keep taking them until, how long are you planning on taking these?
Well, over the years, this is not a cure for ALS. Even though sometimes I told my neurologist, okay, this is going to cure me. He did an EMG in December of 2019, showed me with the EMG. He's like, you still have ALS. You've improved, but you still have ALS. So things you've been doing, that's wonderful. You're great. But Mark, you have to continue doing that. It's not something that you can stop, because if you stop, you're gonna go backwards. He said, I can almost 100% guarantee you will go backwards if you don't keep up this nutritional and this amino acid. I mean, it's even listed now in my medicines, which is unusual. When I go to the doctor, the supplements and the Leap XX is actually listed in my medicines under my chart.
Well, the Soul Naturals is plant-based. So plants, that's what you eat to give you your nutrients. So we just kind of look at it as a food source for us. So it's just part of our life. So as far as we're concerned, as long as we can, we're still going to take them. Yes. It hasn't hurt us. So if anything, it has helped us.
Right.
Okay. And you've stopped, by the way, you have stopped some of the supplements. You don't, once the deficiency is corrected, you might either stop taking them for a while or taking them at a lower dose. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, Lisa's constantly, matter of fact, she was just on the phone with our naturopath today, and they're constantly tweaking them, per these reports or saliva testing.
Yes, yeah, saliva testing.
And so they're constantly tweaking the vitamin. Right. The biggest thing is over the past, I'd say, 4 years, is that the amount of pharmaceutical drugs that I'm taking versus the supplements. I was taking a handful of pharmaceutical drugs, and now I take very little, with the exception of baclofen and things to sleep, and some prostate issues that are probably normal for any person any guy that's 58 years old. So, but other than that, I take no other pharmaceuticals, where I was taking, 2,700 milligrams of Neurontin a day.
He takes more supplements, natural supplements, than he does the pharmacy.
Yeah.
Right. And we've heard about baclofen too, and you're down to almost nothing on the baclofen now. You don't need it as much, right?
I was taking 90 milligrams a day. Yeah. And now I take, 15?
Probably
15, yeah. Yes.
She slowly has.
She's weaning me off.
Weaning him off of it.
The doctors are weaning me off of even baclofen.
So great. So you spend you were saying in the last video that you spent $800 or $900 a month. That's part of your food budget. And you mentioned that you also mentioned that, you do GoFundMe so people can contribute to your supplements. Well, that's huge. Yeah. And that would be something that we would encourage all pals to do. Supplements get expensive, but we have known a bunch of pals who have been able to get their supplements paid for through GoFundMe, which has helped given people an opportunity to assist you because they don't know what to do. But the other thing is you guys have changed your lifestyle a lot. Can you kind of go into your lifestyle before? Your expenses have vastly decreased from what they were before because you moved.
That's right. And the question before goes, we don't really do GoFundMes anymore because we've downsized to where we can. Now we're, even with all the supplemental protocol, the $8,000 to $1,000 we spend a month is affordable because we've reduced our overhead by going from a 3,500 square foot home and lots of property to, living in a 1,000-foot square condo we are across from the beach, but we reduced it by $3,000 so that we don't have to do GoFundMes anymore because we reduced our expenses to be able to afford what we're doing and,
less is better.
Less is better.
It's, where you put the priorities of making it work or seeing how we can make it work. And then also, friends and family step up, not just for us, other pals. one of our pals said they would send us a picture of some supplements that their cousin just sent to them.
Right.
So they wouldn't have to pay for it, or they didn't have the money to pay for it,
Right.
and they were just ecstatic. And so it's just other people sharing the love, you know, because they don't know how to help or what they can do. And so, you know, they just say, here, you know, I just shipped you this, you know,
Right.
and that's why I would say every little bit helps.
Right. A lot of family and friends that want to help and can't be there day to day to help with
Right.
caregiving, whatever. I mean, it makes them feel really good to be able to, hey, what can I do? Oh, well, you can help us buy these supplements
Right.
for this
they feel
month.
like they're part
And
of it.
they feel like they're part of your healing
Right.
process. So
Absolutely. And just to bring this up, because we brought this up before, not everybody's clear. I wanted to tell Lisa is a flight attendant. So that's why you were gone for days at a time, and that you needed to, you went and you moved from Louisiana while he was on a vent and while he couldn't move to Florida in December of 2017. So that's another thing. You went from a place where you had a lot of friends and family to a whole new place where you didn't have as many. So can you explain, you did it. I mean, I'm really impressed that you had friends and family helping with the caregiving there. And then when you went to Miami, you found more friends and family, friends and neighbors to help you in Miami. So can you explain that move and were your challenges there?
Well, Mark is the one that says, I want to move to the beach because we have a place here. And I was like, okay, then what? What are we going to do? And he says, we just sell this. And I was like, okay, all right. So we just started the process. And, you know, it didn't happen overnight because we also had to get the place situated and set up for handicap friendly. And it was, you know, it's probably a 6-month process and just saying, we're moving and, you know, packing things that we needed to take, put things aside that we weren't going to take, and just making that step. And once we got here, it was like, because we left our doctors behind, not only our friends and family that were close by, but we left our doctors behind, and it was like, we got to come here and find doctors. And slowly but surely, it just took a little bit more research. We found a regular doctor, the internal doctor, and then it was like, we need a neurologist. So I just Googled, and we just happened to have one that's not but 10 minutes away that had an ALS clinic that had just opened up a couple of years before, and they were still in the new stages and everything. So we feel very fortunate to be able to, you know, then it was like, okay, we stepped out on faith, but okay, God was there the whole time because we didn't know what was going to be here once we got here. We figured we'd have to drive to Miami, or, you know, Jacksonville was going to be the Mayo Clinic, or we was going to have to start searching for clinics, and it was in our back door. So who knew? Yeah. So you never know.
Who knew that we had a clinic right here 10 minutes away,
right,
that's connected to Mass General in Boston, where we got to know, now we've got to know Dr. Merritt from Mass General, which we didn't know before, because she's connected to our clinic here. So by the move has actually been a wonderful thing from a doctor standpoint. We have a clinic that is, you know, connected to one of the best ALS clinics in the world. So God is, you know, we trusted, and
they're hands-on. They've talked us.
You were guided.
You know, the different situations of, okay, you need to get home health. We knew the things that we needed to get, but we had to just start doing our own homework and our research of how to implement everything. And when you get with a good, you know, ALS clinic, it makes it a lot easier, but it is doable. I mean, because you have to communicate to the doctor. They tell you what you need and you tell them what you need. This is what we've had. And, you know, we really need to continue on getting what has been taking place before.
Yes. And, you know, it takes a village with this disease.
It is.
And so we had a village before of family, mostly family and friends in Louisiana. Well, it took a little time, but now we have a village again here in Florida.
Yeah.
And we have a doctor that has we have access to more medical here in Florida than we actually did in Florida as far as therapies.
In Louisiana, yeah.
In Louisiana. So in a way, we miss family. We do talk to our family daily, and we go visit, to our family. But Lisa has formed another village, just like she did before, a community of people
it's just a matter of asking for help, and like you said, people want to help, but they don't know how they can help.
Yes.
Like just last week we ran out of distilled water and couldn't find any. And I was like, someone suggested, why don't you boil it? Well, that wasn't working because Mark started getting a sore throat. He uses it for his humidifier for his vent.
I still use a Trilogy at night to breathe, and when I have issues during the day. Even though my vital capacity has increased, I still have to sleep with the Trilogy. And you're supposed to use distilled water. And
so by that, the community of my flight attendant friends and so forth, all I had to do was make a small post. If you're out there, do you see distilled water? We need it. And they were on it like that. Next thing I know, I've got one at 9 o'clock the next morning, bringing a gallon, another one the next day, and then another one, she works at the airport, but she got with other ones and she made a run to pick up. We had 12 gallons.
12 gallons of distilled water.
Wow, that's amazing. That's so good.
Garage.
And one now still has 15 gallons in the garage. So we're good with
distilled water.
At least had to put the.
So it's just a matter of asking for help and, seeking. And
everybody was going to the store.
They were like,
and raiding the stores,
yeah.
And Lisa went and she couldn't find what we needed. So they went out and found what we needed and bought. So it's God's good and people are amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mark, the other question that came up was, have you been part of a clinical trial? You mentioned Nuedexta,
Yes.
and then there was another one. Can you mention that as well?
APO1, which in 2011, I was in part of a clinical trial there. And continued to, the medicine was made in Germany, but it's not approved here in the U.S. But we continued to buy that because we felt that, or maybe it was just a normal plateau I had had at the time, but I felt maybe it was helping. So we were spending about $8,000 a month to get that medicine. Unfortunately, I didn't realize what I was putting in my body. In retrospect, I probably wouldn't have done it because I had an anaphylactic shock to that. And so
that's like they'll try anything.
Being a part of a trial, it's a wonderful thing. You're helping, you're helping future generations, but you have to really be careful because, you are a part of you're a guinea pig in a trial, and it could help you or it could hurt you. So I think being a part of it hasn't swayed me for thinking and telling pals, hey, you need to be part of clinical trials. Just beware of what you're getting. I mean, NPO1 trial, it's no longer even around. That's gone. So.
Right, and you felt like that was one of the things you kind of wouldn't do again, that particular one.
In retrospect, if I had to do that all over again, absolutely not.
So the lesson here is to understand the clinical trial you're on, whether you're on the placebo or not the placebo, you still have to understand what specifically, if you don't get the placebo, are you putting in your body? What are the side effects? Is there damage to the liver, the kidneys, potential? You need to look at all the potential side effects and go in with your eyes wide open. Lisa, can you talk a little bit about that? Do you do that now? Because you only chose 2 clinical trials to participate in, so.
Yeah, I've always said, do your own research, ask questions. And then just process of elimination of the information you get back.
Well, at this point, because I've had ALS for most trials are within the first, 2 years, 24 months. Your vital capacity has to be a certain amount. I think they have a lot of restrictions with being on Riazol or not being on Riazol, and I'm way beyond that with clinical trials. So my clinical trial now is Lisa researching, talking to a naturopath, and her tweaking my supplements every day, which we know is not going to hurt me. So I mean, we continue to trial every day with her with the supplements. Unfortunately, it's just not FDA approved clinical trials. So
that's true. And others who have taken trials seem to have the same kind of results. I mean, you can get feeling very wonderful and good, but with those trials, there could be side effects, or you could be that person that has a placebo.
Absolutely.
And you're just being along with the ride.
Exactly.
So it can get complicated.
Yeah, I have a friend that a very well-known person, so they don't care who you are either. You're a very well-known person. He was in this trial for over a year. He got placebo. Of all people, he got placebo. And of course he kind of assumed he was getting placebo because he went down. He was going down during this process. And again, that trial, that whole program is no longer in existence either. So you take a chance when you're going through. It doesn't matter. Even the doctors, when they're giving this to you, they have no idea what they're giving it. I mean, it's
right. It's like flipping a coin.
Yes. So you just have to do your homework.
So buyer beware on this, on all of these side of you need to do the research, and if they're not willing to tell you exactly what they're doing in the clinical trial, they need to be. Otherwise, don't do it, because you need to be fully informed. This is all called informed consent.
That's
so
right.
Whenever you do this, you need to know all these details about what the mechanism of action is. You also mentioned there were a few supplements. One of the questions was, did you take supplements that you felt did you harm, or that weren't good and you decided not to take anymore?
No, I don't think so, because Lisa would do a lot of research, and
like fish oil, for example.
Okay, that's a good one. Okay, fish oil.
We did our homework on that to know that was not going to be a good match for him.
Omegas. Not a good omega, because fish oil in general has a certain amount of mercury in it, which, by the way, this is why the test that I showed you here, when I no longer take the fish oil, omegas, my mercury dropped in my blood. So to me, that was a telltale factor that that was a product I didn't need to be taking. Now that we take plant-based omegas, so which is the omegas, it's what the fish eats to get the omegas in their body, not actually when you're eating the meat of the fish and you get mercury or whatever else the fish might have in it. So yes, I think that would be the only example, would be the fish oil.
As far as not, for the most part, you've had good results on those supplements that you take.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question here. Okay. How long did it take, for the feeding tube?
Did you wait till the last second? The question was, did you wait till the last second, or
did you hold out?
Did you do it a little bit early?
No, the feeding tube, as well as the trach, and we'll talk about the trach. Well, I kind of did hold on the trach, but the feeding tube, my doctor was proactive. Okay, Mark, you have ALS. Let's just say if you're in the hospital and something happens, you're not able to swallow, I don't know, whatever happens, if things go down fast, I'd rather be proactive and go ahead and put a feeding tube in now, which I did in 2013. I was still eating. I had some dysphagia. I had problems with thin liquids, but I was still eating. And Lisa, it gave Lisa a way of supplementing and putting more water in my body. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been drinking about enough water. And you definitely have to stay hydrated. So definitely would be proactive with that. as well as the trach. You don't, even though, you know, I've had a doctor that really wasn't, and I stated this before, that really said that okay, Marky, when you get a trach, you're changing the course of this disease. But once we decided as the family, and as I said before, and they reassured me it was no burden, then he says, okay, since you're doing this, we need to go have a planned trach. You don't want to have it in an emergency situation where they're not going to do a good job with your stoma, and you're going to end up with issues with that trach forever because it was done in an emergency situation. So yeah, being proactive, I think, helped. Even though my vital capacity was very low when I did it, but we were proactive. It was a scheduled surgery, not going into the ER saying, okay, the guy can't breathe anymore. So.
Okay, great answer on that one. So the next question is, do you have an opinion on peptides and also these glutathione injections?
I really don't. I've never done the peptides or glutathione. This report shows that my glutathione level is okay, right? Both of them, actually, even the 2018. It shows peptides and all this stuff. I'm amazed at what this NutriVal, I mean, it's, again, the body's an amazing thing, but no, I did not do that. And, but I mean, I've heard people that've had positive results from that. Yes.
Yeah, and I think this is really important with the labs, is that your glutathione showed you weren't that low. Other people, when they come with this NutriVal, you'll see a very, very low level of glutathione. And for someone like that, those glutathione injections can make a huge difference. We've had several ALS reversals said that the glutathione injections were part of their healing. But they were obviously deficient in glutathione, so take a look at the labs.
Right. Every ALS patient seems to have different symptoms and different. It's why it's a difficult disease we don't have a cure for it, because there's so many. They don't know the causes, and again, this product I'm taking, and it's helped me, and it's helped some other people, but it doesn't help everyone. So.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Right, and so there's just a couple of Leap to Be Fit questions. Are you using digestive enzymes and Leap to Be Fit, or both?
Both, not at the same time. I mean, we isolate the Leap to Be Fit. We take that on a totally empty stomach. Nothing to eat before 3 hours before. Basically, I take it first thing in the morning when I wake up. I wait 30 minutes after, and then I can eat or drink after that. And in the afternoon, I wait up to 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours, before I take the amino acids, and then 30 minutes after. So you're always taking that on an empty stomach. But I do take, Lisa gives me, is it twice a day? The enzymes,
yes.
Digestive enzymes.
Yeah, he gets them at night for sure before bed, and then he gets some in the morning, and sometimes during the day he gets it depending on what he's eating, especially depending on, because he doesn't have gallbladder.
Right.
So, but definitely if for some reason he's wanting red meat or something. Yeah. He gets extra digestive enzymes. If
I eat a steak, she'll give me the digestive enzyme.
Okay, good. Okay, next question. I use room temperature water to mix Leap and L-serine. Is it normally that some of the supplement doesn't completely dissolve?
It has happened. Yeah, it happens with us. I mean, I usually shake it up and let it start dissolving, and I use room temperature water. And then I might stir it for a little while or let it sit for 15 minutes while I'm doing something else, or 20 minutes. But that's me preparing it. If I'm in a hurry, yes, it's not going to be dissolved well. But I kind of let it do its own thing, and then I give it to him. And then if there's some left over in it, I just put more water, and either he drinks it, but 9 times out of 10, I'm getting ready to do his other supplement cocktail, is what I call, right after that. So I use what's left over in the bottom of the Leap cup, put some water in it, and I pour that in there for his other supplement batch.
It's very little.
Right. So yeah, I do it. I just noticed that if there's a little left, I just add a little water, swirl it around, and drink the rest. But it's interesting because you wait 30 minutes before you take food. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And so, but you do add other supplements with the Leap. That's okay.
No,
because you said you did 3 hours before. Can you just go over that?
Okay.
Yeah.
First thing in the morning is I mix his Leap, and I put the L-Serene in it. And then I give it to him. And then I wait 30 minutes. In the meantime, I'm mixing his other supplement cocktails, what I call, all of his medicines and so forth. So 30 minutes after his Leap, he gets his supplements. And then I'll wait 20 or 30 minutes just because of where we're at or what's going on. And then he can have food or a protein shake or something like that. Because the main thing is to have the Leap into his system on an empty stomach so it can absorb as much as the nutrients as possible. And then in the afternoon is when I zone in on for his second scoop of Leap and L-Serene. Like this afternoon, he had a shake at 2, 3 o'clock, or if he had eaten lunch or whatever. And then I look at the clock, okay, 3 hours, we're going to wait. He gets his Leap and his L-Serene, and then I wait 30 minutes and he wants to eat again or whatever, that's good. But if he's gone all day long and has not had that second scoop of Leap, and say because whatever took place, we didn't stop, he ate at 5 o'clock, and I'm like, okay, you didn't have your Leap this afternoon. So I wait 3 hours after that feeding. So it'll be 8 o'clock at night, he's getting Leap, which is not too often he gets it that late, but that's just our routine. There's other pals that they want to drink their Leap right before they go to bed. That's okay. As long as it was a 3-hour break since they had that food or protein to where they can have the Leap.
But
that's
it's not a great idea to do it right before you go to bed, because it does give you kind of a little energy bounce.
Mm-hmm.
And so taking it right before you go to bed, you'll have a restful sleep. But to continue with answering Lisa's question, with her giving me the supplements and having a little bit of the Leap, minute amount, as you know, Tricia, because you take this, a minute amount of Leap. It's Lisa's way. She's like, well, we're not going to waste the Leap. You get your.
Yeah, I don't want to waste any of it either. No way.
So I mix it up. I mix a lot of things, but the main thing, he got his Leap on that empty stomach, and that has been
99.9% of it. Yeah, on the empty stomach. Yes.
So another question is, how long did you take Leap? Have you been taking Leap and L-Serene, and how long do you plan on continuing taking it?
The L-Serene has been taken for 3.5 years. The Leap has been taken 3 years, and as long as we can keep taking it, he's going to take it. That's just part of our, like I said, that's budgeted in accordingly with our food bill.
Yes. Or until they,
until they come up with that cure.
Research that they said, okay, we have
something. Let's do
neuron, let's say, neuron, and a few years from now, neuron, stem cells. Yeah. Okay, Medicare covers this PALS. We're going to give you all neuron stem cells, and it's a cure. Yes. Then, maybe we don't have to go with this. I probably will still take the good supplements, okay, the things that I take every day, but the amino acids I may not need.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, the other thing, too, even with stem cells, is the better environment those stem cells have to go in, the longer those stem cells are going to last. So even if you're full of toxins, those brand new stem cells are going to die. It'll give you a boost, but the bottom line is, it unless you've dealt with the environment of your body, those stem cells, you need to give them an environment that they can grow in.
I don't think a lot of pals realize that either.
Yeah. I've had that discussion with another pal.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right. Another question is, how often do you do physical therapy? And how often do you do occupational therapy?
Yeah, physical therapy. Well, now because of this quarantine situation, they gave me pieces of give me little copies of stuff that I need to do at home, and Lisa can help me with. But I've been doing physical therapy probably 6 straight years. Mm-hmm. Even when I couldn't move, they continued to stretch me. They came to the house 3 times a week. I had an aide, and she would move me around. And, just by moving that and having an aide and moving you around and sliding you back and forth and twisting you and scrubbing you and, scrubbing you real hard so you got your lymphatics.
The lymphatics, that's important. Keep those moving.
Around with your scraping your skin but
dry brushing.
Dry brushing, we do that too. Dry brushing for the lymphatic system. Mm-hmm. But since this quarantine, we've had to do everything at home. Whereas I was going 3 times a week to our ALS Holy Cross, our ALS Phil Smith Neuroscience Center, their rehab center. They're a neuro physical therapist, which that's something I have learned during this process. You have your physical therapists and OTs that are people that are like for hip replacements and, knee replacements. And then you have your neuro physical people that know a lot about ALS. And we've been fortunate since we've come to, we had a really couple of good ones in Louisiana, but we've been fortunate that all of our therapists here in Florida have been focused on the neuro side of it. And so it's totally different exercises that they do with you. But no, I'll continue to do that. As soon as the quarantine's lifted, they've already told me they're going to rewrite my ALS clinic said they're going to rewrite the script and get it started again. Yep.
Okay, fantastic. What is Heal in a Meal vegetarian, and it's actually vegan, and so that's important to know. And why did you? And also, it is very designed vegetarian. So you can talk about again plant-based, both with the Solely Naturals and the Heal in a Meal.
Okay. So what was the question?
They asked if these were vegetarian, and in fact, they're actually beyond vegetarian because they're dairy-free, which means they're vegan.
Right.
Vegan.
And Lisa, just go over why you were looking for plant-based supplements versus anything that included dairy.
Well, like I said earlier, plant is its food source that's more natural to give you the proteins that you need. And they're not going to have the inflammation that dairy would have.
Yeah. And in my case, I'm glucose tolerant. I've never been able to drink milk or anything like that without issues. So in my case, using whey protein powder or some kind of powder was not an option. So we had to use the pea protein or hemp protein or whatever, mm-hmm. To get the sufficient amount of protein.
Fantastic, thank you. So that's a big question. People don't realize that dairy is inflammatory, so you've got to be really careful with that with ALS.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple of things that came up that was in the conference, in our Healing ALS 219 conference. They talked a lot about what people are doing. For you, what was your top 3 things to avoid as you were going through this? Because it's a multifactorial disease. Everybody has to choose their own route. But what are the top things that stuck out?
First is any kind of artificial sweeteners. Aspartame, Splenda, which is horrible. I will tell people that because I'm an engineer. I actually did work with a plant that makes Splenda, and the feedstock is propylene glycol, which is antifreeze for your car. So, so that's not something you want to put in your body. Nobody wants to put that in their body. So it's either pure sugar. We do use, Lisa does use stevia, which is just a leaf of plant ground up into powder. It's not as effective sweetening, but it's sweets, it's enough. We try to minimize sugar because sugar is inflammatory. It feeds yeast in your body, and like you said before, it feeds viruses in your body. So we try to minimize any kind of sugar. That was the biggest. I'd say that's the number one. Then all the wheat-based products, grain with the what is it? I'm sorry. I just drew a blank, and she's going to help. Thank goodness. All the gluten, we just excluded all gluten from my diet, and of course anything that had to do with dairy, we excluded. And
while I was on the PEG tube, we also looked at a good formula for him, because what they wanted and what Medicare would cover was stuff that I couldn't understand or read.
Right.
And I was like, what is this? What do you mean? And it would have a tendency to even mess up your PEG tube.
Right.
So that was important also, because trying to get the nutrients in that he needed to be able to move forward.
Yeah, Lisa.
Yeah, and just in case you didn't get that from the first video, started out with functional formularies, Liquid Hope, then switched to Kate Farm, and now Heal in a Meal is also a PEG tube formula, although you guys just drink it. You stir it up and drink it.
Right.
But all three of those are all natural, and Kate's Farm is now covered, and I believe the Heal in a Meal people are in the process of getting that covered as well. So Medicare will pay for the Kate's Farm.
I do get a lot of pals that ask me, Mark, what do you suggest? Okay, we're taking Jevity or Complete or whatever.
Sure.
I said, well, all I can tell you is what my wife told me. If she had to Google the ingredients to figure out what it was, then she wasn't going to put it in my body.
Right.
So,
and then also it's just looking at what is in these products that are the tendency of the fattiness, because they're wanting to put weight on them. And you have to take all that as far as your carbs, sugars, and everything that adds up to lead to that fattiness that's in those formulas wasn't what it was going to be working for us.
No.
Right, and too much fat actually interferes with detox. We found that out.
Exactly.
So Scott asked, what are the top 3 things you would eliminate? My question is, what are the 3 most important things that you think that you added? What protocols that you added you think were the most important?
Well, protocols. Well, of course, the supplements. Being the leap. Things that I added to my life, a stronger faith, absolutely. Really having day-to-day chats with God and with my maker, as Lisa said, and and having a positive attitude. We added that. I mean, because we didn't realize at the time, we had a lot of friends, and we didn't realize that we had also, before this, we had a lot of negativity. Some of these people were negative, and we just, but when you're around negative is like, it's almost like the COVID-19 bug. It's contagious, negativity. So, we eliminated that from our lives. So
so supplements, positivity, and God. And then what foods did you add that you think were the most important? Was it just more vegetables, or was it more to it than that?
Yes. Mark needs, he's a type A, so we kind of looked at that, but that's a lot of meat. So when you add a lot of meat, you got to make sure that you've got good enzymes to break them down.
She's talking about my blood type.
Yeah, so we just kind of keep things simple, and you know, you take away what is not working the best for the body.
Which is interesting because Dr. Bedlack is high on coconut products, coconut milk, coconut oil, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But for my blood type, any coconut product is bad.
It's not a favor.
So it's not any good. It's inflammation for my blood type.
Mm-hmm.
So Lisa, going through the naturopath, is like, okay, even though that might be, they say that may be good for ALS, it's causing inflammation in your body because of your blood type.
Right.
Yeah.
So
a lot of doctors dismiss the blood type, but you know, it's interesting because we've talked like type O, people with ALS with type O said, you know what, we need meat. We feel so much better on meat. So, and yet a type A can get away with way less meat.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so I believe there's something to it.
Right.
And again, you have to go by what you feel and your results and your lab results.
right.
Right.
Yeah, drinking coconut, I did not feel good drinking coconut milk or coconut water that we tried. And because I was in a meeting with Dr. Bedlack at ALS Advocacy in Washington, D.C., and he was talking about coconut and people were asking questions about cannabis and all that. And he was very high on that. And of course, everything was really serious, and I just kind of wanted to make him chuckle. And I'm like, so what you're telling me, Dr. Bedlack, or actually I got my daughter to ask. I wrote it down somehow or another. I typed it in, and she asked him, so my dad wants to ask, so you're saying if I drink in coconut water and drink coconut milk, bathe in coconut, and smoke cannabis, that my ALS is probably going to be better? He said, probably so.
Really?
Yeah.
But
Well,
he
you know
laughed.
what? If you look at what Butch, you know, he's passed away now, but I'll tell you that coconut oil for him was amazing. It made all the difference in the world. And when he would go off the coconut oil, his symptoms got significantly worse. And so, of course, he went back on it. And that was basically magnesium crystals and coconut oil. And it turned around his symptoms. So, again, everyone is different.
It's good for a lot of people. I have friends that drink it like, it's water.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Right. Exactly.
Be careful with that, too, because there's a lot of sugars, high in sugars in those coconut waters.
Coconut waters, but not coconut oil.
Yeah, right. The
exactly.
coconut oil.
So again, I think everyone is individualized, and I think Lisa and Mark it's so important that you have a very individualized program that's working for Mark, and what's working for Mark, some of the ideas are going to work for other people, and they're going to find their own solutions.
You mix and match, and you
Right.
make it work accordingly. It's your journey. You take all the information you can and do the best you can. Don't beat yourself up. That's another thing. You do the best you can to move through it.
Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you, too.
Thank you, too.